So we're going to be working with a reverse pyramid structure for our yoga practice today. This describes the bulk of the work happening at the beginning of the practice and then starting to taper it off toward the end. So sometimes that's how long we're holding a posture, sometimes it's the number of repetitions that we're doing of a particular pose, sometimes it's the number of breaths that we're using to hold the pose. So you'll see what that looks like today. We'll start with the highest number of repetitions and the longest holds, and we'll start to taper it off toward the end so that the last time we go through the sequence, it looks more like a vinyasa flow. So let's begin today in our tabletop position, facing the short edge of the mat. We'll just start with a little bit of cat-cow to warm up the spine here. So inhale, lifting the crown of the head, lifting the tailbone. As you exhale, rounding out through the spine, dropping chin to chest. A few more cycles like this. Inhale to lift the head, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding out through the spine. Two more cycles like this, moving at your own pace, stretching out those muscles of the spine, opening up the front of the chest as you move. For one more inhale breath here. And exhale breath here. Back to your neutral spine, we'll move into bird dog. So extending your right leg behind you. Your toes may be down on the ground here today, or you might be lifting the leg a little bit higher. We're going to extend that left arm out in front, and we'll start this first cycle by holding this posture for 30 seconds on the first side. So we want to think about keeping that right side of the pelvis level, so not rotating it up, but keeping two hips facing toward the ground. Breathing here, holding the posture, but not holding the breath. Your gaze should be down on your mat. The back of the neck is nice and long. With your next exhale, release the arm, release the leg, come back to your tabletop position. Let's set up for the other side. So left leg extends behind you this time. Option to extend right arm out in front, holding our bird dog position on this side. Again, holding this for about 30 seconds, so a few cycles of breath here. This time being aware of that left hip rolling open. We want to keep the hip facing toward the ground. The whole spine is long here. We want to try to avoid rotating the shoulders or the hips. Let's release that leg, release the arm. We're coming back to side one. This time your right leg extends behind you, your left arm out in front, holding this time for 20 seconds. So we're reducing the length of our holds with each set. We do this as a way to preserve the tissue function. We become more fatigued as we go through our repetitions, so we're reducing the length of the holds with each cycle. Let's release that leg down, release the arm down, setting up for side two. Left leg extends behind you this time, right arm extends out in front. Again, 20 seconds here on this side. Keeping those left toes actively pointing down toward the floor. And with your next exhale, releasing leg, releasing arm. We have one more cycle here, this time just holding the posture for 10 seconds. So right leg extends behind you, left arm out in front, holding here for maybe 1 or 2 breaths only on this side. Releasing the arm, releasing the leg. Last time on your second side, left leg behind you, right arm out in front. Releasing the arm, releasing the leg. Let's shift those hips back into a child's pose. Couple of breaths here, breathing into the low back all the way down the length of the spine. And from here, rocking the body forward back to that tabletop position. Curl your toes under this time. Lift the hips to downward facing dog, this inverted V shape. Walking the feet up toward the hands, come to the top edge of the mat in a forward fold. We'll slowly roll up through the spine here, coming up to Tadasana, mountain pose. We'll begin with our flow sequence here. So we're going to start by shifting the weight onto the right foot. You're lifting your left toes, maybe bringing the thigh up to parallel with the floor, reaching your fingertips overhead. This is going to be your inhale breath. As you exhale, we're going to extend into toppling tree. That left leg lifts behind you, arms sweep alongside the body. We have 4 more cycles like this. Inhale, lifts that leg, lifts the arms. Exhale, sweep it back to that toppling tree. Another breath like this. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you extend. 2 more breaths like this, moving at your own pace, knowing that it's okay to wobble here. It's okay if those left toes touch down as you transition. We're challenging the balance. And from your toppling tree from here, we're going to bend into the supportive leg, release your left toes down to the ground, and set up for a warrior 1. Fingertips reaching up toward the ceiling, finding stability in this pose. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. You have 1 more breath here with that inhale. Really lift up through the fingertips. Feel the lengthening in the side body. And with your exhale, open this now to a warrior 2. So we're going to be in this pose once again for 5 breaths. Set yourself up here. Your right leg is bent. Your left leg is extended. That left foot is parallel with the back edge of the mat. Release your shoulders away from the ears. Take 2 more breaths here. From here, flip your right palm up to the sky. We're moving into Exalted Warrior. Your legs stay in the same shape. We're resting that left hand down onto the back thigh. Staying here, pausing and experiencing the pose for 5 breaths. Noticing the change in how the breath moves through the body, this time filling up the right side of the rib cage, increasing those spaces between each rib. Take 1 more breath here. Keep the legs just as they are. Come back up to your warrior 2, and this time bring the arm forward so you're resting your right arm onto that thigh for side angle. Left fingertips can either be reaching up toward the ceiling or extended overhead. You're here for 2 more breaths. From here, we're going to spin that left hand all the way down to the ground, pivot on the ball of the back foot, and find yourself in this twisted lunge. Right hand onto the thigh or extending up toward the ceiling. 5 breaths here in this twisted lunge. Keeping the hips again parallel with the floor, so we don't want to allow that left hip to drop down. Thinking about turning that navel in toward the inner thigh. Take 1 more breath here. From here, we're going to pivot now so that we're facing the long edge of the mat. You're in a surfer's lunge. So you might have your left toes pointing up toward the ceiling here, sinking deeply into that right hip. Some of you might choose to keep your hands on the ground, to have that left foot planted, and to keep the hips higher. Navigating this posture, we're using some muscle memory here to find our shape. We're going to be coming back to this with 2 more rounds after this. Take 1 more breath here. From here, extend both legs, bring the fingertips down to the ground, find a wide-legged forward fold. Pausing here between sides, take a big breath in and a full breath out. Let's rotate over the left leg this time, facing the back edge of your mat in this low lunge. Step back to downward facing dog. Take a full breath here in your down dog. Walk those feet up toward your hands. You're now facing the back edge of your mat. Rolling up through the spine, come back to your mountain pose, Tadasana. We'll go through the same sequence on the other side. Shift your weight into your left foot this time, right toes lifting off of the ground. Maybe thigh becomes parallel with the floor, fingertips reaching up toward the ceiling. Inhale here, and as you exhale, extend back into your toppling tree. Moving with the breath for 5 cycles. We inhale to lift. Exhale, arms sweep alongside the body as you tip. Taking a few more breaths here, again moving at the pace of your own breath. Challenging the balance here. You're here for one more cycle of breath in. And exhale, extend back to that toppling tree. Bend into your supporting leg, allow the right leg to come down behind you, your warrior one. Pausing here, finding the strength in your front leg, the stretch in your back hip. Staying here for 4 more breaths. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, move into your warrior two. Opening up to the long edge of your mat, your left leg stays bent, right leg is extended. Finding your warrior two again for 5 breaths. Drishti can be over those left fingertips, or you can be looking straight ahead, keeping the neck neutral. Being intentional with your gaze, dropping into the pose, and staying here for 2 more breaths. Keep the legs just as they are. Flip the left palm up to the ceiling. Exalted Warrior. Right hand resting down onto the back thigh. Breathing this into the body for your 5 breaths here. This time experiencing the breath in the left side of the rib cage, that space between the rib cage and the pelvis. Next breath brings you back up to that warrior two. Shift right away into side angle. Left forearm resting down onto the thigh. Right fingertips reaching up. Shifting this side stretch to the opposite side of the body, the right side this time. With your next exhale, release that right hand down to the floor. Pivot on the ball of the back foot, moving into that twisted low lunge. Keeping the hips parallel with the ground. Navel in toward the inner thigh. Left fingertips reaching high or resting them onto the leg. From here, transitioning into that surfer's lunge. So release the left hand down, turn to face long edge of the mat. Again, maybe the right toes are pointing up toward the ceiling for that deeper lunge, or you may choose to have your hips lifted here. Hands can be at heart center. They can also be resting on the floor. Wherever you are, be here for 3 more breaths. From here, we're straightening out that left leg, transitioning to that wide-legged forward fold. Just one breath in here and a full breath out. Turning to face the top edge of the mat, you're in a right-sided low lunge. We're going to walk that right leg back to downward facing dog. Full breath in here. Full breath out. Walk the feet back up to the hands, coming to the top edge of the mat. This time, reverse swan dive. Lift with the crown of the head first as you rise to stand. Exhale, hands down to your heart. We do the same thing, another cycle here, but this time 3 breaths or 3 repetitions per movement. So we shift weight into the right foot. We're going to inhale, lift that left leg. On the exhale, sweep it back, toppling tree. Another inhale here to lift. Exhale to extend. Last time, inhale to lift. Exhale, release into that toppling tree. Allow the left foot to come down to the ground. Warrior 1, 3 breaths here. Let's open this up to our Warrior 2. Right leg stays bent, turning to face the long edge of the mat. Here for 3 breaths. Keep the shape in the legs. Flip the right palm up to the ceiling. Exalted Warrior. Breathing into the right side body. 2 more breaths here. Sweep the body forward this time, resting that right forearm onto the thigh. Left fingertips lift. Side angle. On your exhale, release the left hand down. Twisted lunge. Pivot on the ball of the back foot. Extend your right fingertips. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. Surfer's lunge. Come back to the place that you decided in your first round. Be here for another breath in and another breath out. Extending through that right leg, come through that wide-legged forward fold. Not pausing this time, we're going to transition right away into the left low lunge, so you're facing the back edge of your mat. Step back to that downward dog, take a big breath in, and a full breath out. Walk the feet up to the hands, coming to the back edge of the mat. Reverse swan dive, inhale, sweep the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands through heart center. Shift the weight onto the left foot. Inhale, reach the fingertips high as you lift that right leg. Exhale, take it back, toppling tree. Another breath like this. Inhale as you lift. Exhale to extend back. One more time. Inhale as you lift. Exhale, extend into that toppling tree. Bend the supporting leg. Release the right foot down to the floor. Warrior 1. 3 breaths. Opening this up into Warrior 2 this time, facing the long edge of your mat. Find your shape here, fingertips reaching side to side. Take one more breath here. Keep the shape in the legs. Flip the left palm up to the ceiling. Exalted Warrior. Keeping that bend in the left knee. If you've lost it, can you come back to your depth? Back up to that Warrior 2. Sweep right away into side angle. Left forearm resting on the thigh. Your next exhale, release the right hand down. Twisted lunge, turning navel in toward inner thigh. Left fingertips reaching high. Rotating into that surfer's lunge, facing long edge of the mat, find the place where you were in our last side. Come back to that and take one more breath. Extend through your left leg, moving through that wide-legged forward fold. Come back to the top edge of your mat, low lunge. Step back, downward facing dog. Big breath in here. Full breath out. Walk those feet up to the top edge of the mat. Last time, we're only going to do one breath per movement. So moving fairly quickly here so you can feel the difference in the body. Inhale, reach the arms up to the ceiling, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands down to your heart. Inhale, sweep the fingertips high, lift that left leg. Exhale, take it back, toppling tree. Release the foot down to the floor, warrior one. Take a big breath in as you sweep the fingertips high. On the exhale, open this into your warrior two. Inhale, take it to exalted warrior. As you exhale, come through center all the way over into your side angle. Release that left hand down to the floor. Pivot into your twisted lunge as you inhale. On the exhale, open this into your surfer's lunge. Take a full inhale breath here. On the exhale, release the fingertips down. Come through that wide-legged forward fold, pivoting to the back edge of your mat in your low lunge. Step back to downward facing dog. Take a full inhale breath here and a full exhale breath here. Walk those feet up toward the hands, coming to the back edge of your mat. One more time on the other side. Inhale, sweep the arms high, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands through heart center. Shift weight to the left foot. Inhale, reach the fingertips as the right leg lifts. Exhale, back to toppling tree. Release the foot down to the floor. Inhale, warrior one. Fingertips lift. Exhale, open it out. Warrior two. Inhale, sweep it back. Exalted warrior. Exhale, pass through that warrior two as you come into side angle. Release that right hand down to the floor. Inhale into that twisted lunge. Exhale, rotate back to the long edge of your mat, surfer's lunge. Take a full inhale breath here. A full exhale breath here. Release the hands down to the mat, transitioning through that wide-legged forward fold. Come back to your right-sided low lunge and then make your way back to downward facing dog. Release your knees down to the mat. Find a comfortable seated position. And this is where we'll close our practice. We'll just take a few breaths here to bring the nervous system back down. Finding your most comfortable seat. You can take your hands to heart center here. You can rest them on your thighs. Finding a place where you feel this close connection to your deep self. Noticing how this practice can change depending on the length of the holds in our poses. We can create this reverse pyramid structure as a way to find the best place for our bodies in the pose, and then use that information and come back to it. And I hope you enjoyed this practice today. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment below. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to see in the future. I'm wishing you a wonderful week. Namaste.